Apparently, Americans who want to operate a motor vehicle in the state in which they are a resident are required to obtain a driver's license from that state's DMV to do so. An individual is usually required to provide the DMV with personal information, the activity in connection with which individuals must submit personal information. An individual is also usually required to provide personal information identifying his vehicle. A driver is a person, is a natural person, is an individual, is a citizen of the United States, is a member of the class defined as federal personnel, are by definition United States government employees, are residents for certain legal purposes of the District of Columbia, and a subject of all legislation therein. A Social Security franchisee, within which a political subdivision of the District of Columbia who wishes to use a motor vehicle for commercial purposes on the highways thereof is required to obtain a driver's license from a DMV of said political subdivision. As a condition of obtaining a driver's license, said franchisee is required to provide said DMV with personal information such as franchisee's name, address, telephone number, and in some cases medical information that may bear on said franchisee's ability to operate a motor vehicle. In some political subdivisions of the District of Columbia, the DMV also requires the Social Security franchisee to provide his Social Security number and takes a photograph of said franchisee. A Social Security franchisee in a particular political subdivision of the District of Columbia who wishes to register a motor vehicle is also required to provide personal information identifying his vehicle, such as make, model, and year of manufacture. Every new carriage or other contrivance propelled or drawn by mechanical power is the property of the manufacturer and comes with a document of title called a Certificate of Origin for a vehicle, or Manufacturer's Certificate of Origin, etc., bearing its particular identifying information. This certificate is the actual title of the new carriage contrivance. The scheme works as follows. The trustor and settler, manufacturer, vests equitable title of the trust property, new car, in a trustee, distributor and dealer, to be held in a trust for another person, the beneficiary, ultimate purchaser. Upon sale of the new car to the initial ultimate purchaser, the trustee, distributor, dealer, without disclosing the details of the process to the initial ultimate purchaser, transfers the title, MSO provided by the manufacturer, to the DMV, District of Columbia, who is now the legal owner of the carriage contrivance and holds legal title thereto for the benefit of another, the beneficiary, original buyer, who is the beneficial owner of the trust property, new carriage contrivance, and receives a certificate of title from the legal owner, the DMV, District of Columbia. Zip code. Although authorized to do so, American men and women who rarely refuse to accept mail matter bearing a corruption of their full true name, example, all caps, full T name, or with a United States Post Office identifier known as a zip code, use of which is voluntary, thereby confirm that 1. Proper delivery, and 2. Residence in territory or other property belonging to the United States. All United States Post Office box holders reside in federal territory. A zip code is a numerical code that identifies areas within the United States and its territories for purposes of. Note the singular possessive pronoun its, not their, therefore carrying the implication that it relates to the United States as a corporation domiciled in the District of Columbia, in the singular sense, not in the sense of being the 50 states of the Union, the plural sense. Properly construed, zip codes can only be applicable in federal territories and enclaves that may be located within the 50 states of the Union, and to the United States and District of Columbia and its territories, to the effect that in every state there are two governments, the state and the United States. The federal government utilizes the zip code to prove that you reside in a federal district of the District of Columbia. This is why the IRS and other government agencies, state and federal, require a zip code when they assert jurisdiction by sending you a letter. They claim that this speeds the mail, but this is a sly and subtle trick. It is also prima facie evidence that you are a subject of Congress and a citizen of the District of Columbia who is resident in one of the several states. So if you are using a zip code, you are in effect saying openly and notoriously that you do not live in the California Republic, but instead are a resident in the California area of the District of Columbia, a federal district. The Federal Reserve Act is the creation of Baron Alfred Charles D. Rothschild, Director of the Private Bank of England, implemented via his straw author Paul Moritz Warburg, a German bankster and Rothschild confederate, awarded United States citizenship in 1911 specifically for this purpose. Each of the 12 private regional Federal Reserve banks is a private joint stock company instituted under the auspices of the novel District of Columbia, created and constituted February 21, 1871, and patterned by its architect Baron Rothschild, after the Private Bank of England. The Bank of England, a joint stock company, indisputably the most powerful political force formerly ever known, is nationalized March 1, 1946, shortly after a conference in Bretton Woods, New Hampshire, July 1st to the 22nd of 1944, and the founding of, among other things, the so-called International Monetary Fund, hereinafter the IMF, and International Bank for Reconstruction and Development, later to be called the World Bank, both of which private banks will become operational in the District of Columbia in 1958. Neither the Federal Reserve, nor World Bank, nor IMF answers to any government. Each aforesaid private bank is an institutional proxy of the principles of the formerly private Bank of England, incorporated under the auspices of the novel District of Columbia, and in effect a sovereign world power. The solution is offered herein to recover one's standing as a creator of the United States of America on equal footing with the good people of these colonies of July 4th, 1776, and we the people of March 4th, 1789, and natural right to travel as one thinks fit without the need for official permission from government to do so. The situation. The only real obstacle standing between the Goldsmith banksters and their plans for mankind is the sovereignty of the American people. commandeering for their personal and fraternal use of the executive power and armed forces of almost every other political entity proves simple. Infiltrate, seduce, buy off, entrapped, bribe, or blackmail, and co-opt the sovereign people's authority. The power structure. 1. The Creator creates man, of which the American people are a part. So, the power of man can never be greater than that of the Creator. 2. The American people create the governments of their respective Union States and United States. So, the respective power of said governments can never be greater than that of the American people. Fred's living above the line example. 3. The government of the United States and that of each respective Union State creates franchises called corporations and individuals. So the power of a franchise can never be greater than that of the respective government that creates it. Included hereof consists of identification of the situation and commentary as to how one can go about fixing it, including the unilateral instrument and supporting documents by which any ordinary American can rectify personal error and, as authorized by law, recover and maintain his original station in the United States of America as one of the people. If one wants to live in a free society such as that envisioned by the good people of these colonies, and almost all of the founding fathers for the United States of America, he must be willing to be responsible for that freedom against all would-be usurpers, all of whom ultimately are British banksters doing business in the District of Columbia. In legal terms, the Matrix is the omnipresent menace of supra-territorial personal jurisdiction facing the people of the several states of the Union, acquired upon their respective execution of the Social Security contract and enrollment in the public register of political franchisees of the parent municipal corporation of the United States, the District of Columbia, incorporated continuously since February 21, 1871, and doing business as United States. In political terms, the Matrix is the public register of corporately styled all capital letter corruptions of the respective full true name of American men and women, property of the United States, and, by default, its creditor, the Federal Reserve, maintained by 1. United States Social Security Administration, each of which names is assigned its own serial number, and 2. Department of the Treasury, each of which names is assigned the same serial number but called a taxpayer identification number. The all capital letter names derived from the full true name appearing on the respective birth records submitted at the time of application for enrollment in Social Security, political franchisees known as juristic persons are nominal account holders for the respective Americans who authorize, usually unwittingly and tacitly, via their silence, upon attaining the age of majority, 18, the opening of the Social Security account, thereby constructively accepting and executing the Social Security franchise and contract, and comprise, with their respective serial number, the public register and the body politic of the municipal corporation and second national government known as District of Columbia, constituted via the Act of February 21, 1871. Issues to address. 1. Your Social Security contract. 2. Your status with the IRS. 3. your use of the federal zip code. All